Good evening. This is your Dr. James C. Birdsong Jr., founder, president, and executive director of Birdsong Association of Broadcasting and Arts, known as BABA. And welcome to this segment of the 2022 first annual Mentors of Performing Arts and Broadcasters Virtual Conference. This discussion today is dealing with management and marketing. So tonight we're joined by three distinguished guests, panelists. And I want to announce that the moderator of the discussion, Deborah Bryan, was unable to moderate for tonight. So I'll be moderating this discussion. And also, I want to announce that Benita Bellamy Kelly, who is a national award winning marketing manager, she was unable to join us tonight. So right now, I'm going to introduce our panelists, which are the following: the Reverend Dr. Jerome Bell, CEO of the Bell Groups and Ministries of Washington, D.C., Wanda Adams, CEO and founder of Marketing Ministry LLC in Atlanta, Georgia, and Yolanda McIntosh, founder, president of Miss Marketing LLC in Rahway, New Jersey. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on tonight.
Good
Thank
evening.
you for having us.
Good to be here.
Nice to
You're
be
very You're very welcome. As announced, this conference is to reach our young people in the Black community on how they can become the next voices in arts and broadcasting. So, and I would like to thank everybody for tuning in on tonight. Please, if you're watching, please post your comments. Please post your comments, and please let all the young people know, especially they're with you, to tune into this informative conference. So, we're going to get started with the questions. The panelists will have 5 minutes each to answer the questions. So we'll be on here for 6 to 8 this evening. Okay. So the first question is: can each of you explain to our youth about your beginnings as managers, marketers, and PRs? And I'm gonna start with you first, Pastor Bell.
Oh my. Okay. Well, it's a long story, but it sounds like we might have just a little bit of time. From let's see, promotions, marketing, broadcasting. I've actually done it all, and pretty much started for me in radio. I go all the way back to the flagship gospel station WICB in Washington D.C. I started there in 1981. And well, it's been a while since I actually said that, but from there, and should I say while there, that was a place where a lot of relationships began to be cultivated, and relationships with just everybody of that time, from the Hawkins family to the Smallwood, Richard Smallwood, to the Winans and Clarks, and during that time, the late Reverend Milton Brunson, and just so many, Reverend Al Green, and so many. So my radio experience is what kind of led me into, in those days we really did had to do it all. We were all somewhat one-stop shops. You had to promote, you had to market, you had to do it. And of course, this is before social media. And then having gone from there, and when I ended up as an artist representative, an artist manager, starting by being road manager for Richard Smallwood, and I was Richard's road manager for well over 25 years, maybe almost 30 years. And during that time, I also became road manager for Lady Tremaine Hawkins, and then became her representative through there. I remember there was a time when the manager that she had been with, uh, that contract ended, and she said, well, I'll just have Jerome handle things for me until I find a new manager. And that went on for about 18 years of looking for someone else. But all is well. So through all of that, and then those were the days, and I'm a part of the transition piece before we had all this great assistance, all this great free assistance that social media offers us. We were pounding the pavement with the likes of some of the people that you have a part of this conference, and record companies. And you had to get out there. You had to be the artist representative, the artist counselor, the artist psychiatrist, the artist publicist. You had to just be all of that. So it's been challenging, but certainly tremendously rewarding. But I think when you talk about young people, a lot of times young people just are not willing to do the types of things that we did back in those days. And that is to just be around, help where you can help. If you gotta love it, you can't come into it looking for the money from it. And so you gotta love it. Young people, jump in, see what you can do. I carried a lot of folks' bags and went to got water and swept the floor and just did what we could do. Carry garment bags and stood on the side of the stage to see how I could be of help and just observe. You gotta do a lot of watching to learn. It's one of the few industries where you love it and you can be a fan of it, but can also give you opportunity to be involved in it. But it's important to watch it first before you do that. So I just say to the young people, get a place and observe. Go to those shows and go to those churches that are having concerts and watch and observe and go up and introduce yourself. And have your stuff together when you go introduce yourself, because there's only one chance for the first impression. So I think that's it for me. I could go on and on, but I'll just stop here.
Thank you so much, Pastor Bell. Yolanda, same question.
Okay. Wow. So let me start off by saying I fell in love with the entertainment industry very young. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I wound up making history at my high school called Oliver High School in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We did a talent show. I was my class president of Devastating 88. And so that's where I got my first thrill of entertainment, because we did that talent show and they haven't had one in years. Then on, I wound up coming home back to the state of New Jersey. And then I wind up getting a contract doing some backup with some other previous singers, that they wind up getting a contract with Capitol Records, and I was part of that. And so that started me off. Like what he has said too, I've worked in from the church, became an ordained pastor, and people would reach out to me on all these different levels. And it just kept intertwining from there, me helping people from food, clothing, trying to help them with their talent, gifts and talent. I didn't know what God was taking me through. All I just kept saying was, yes, Lord, yes, Lord. And many times I didn't have the answer to it. And what plumbed me very fast into all of this is when a young lady reached out to me, a prophet called me and said, Yolanda, it's you. You're the person that can help this young lady with her book to get it into Barnes and Nobles. From there, we made history. From then on, I wound up getting a call from a gentleman by the name of Nocturnal, which is with the ghostwriter of Dr. Dre. And he heard about that I was helping people and everything else. I'm like, well, how am I going to help you? I've never even worked in PR, never managed anyone in my life, And again, I took the call on. It was him, another gentleman by a Creep Dog that passed on, and Knock and Jesus Book and Gift Store were one of the first. Jesus Book and Gift Store was one of my first accounts where I was the PR for the Christian bookstore, a 30-year-old Christian bookstore here in the state of New Jersey, which also bridged me back to all of the pastors globally around the world that was writing books and trying to get into it. So like I mentioned to you, I was an ordained pastor. I wound up closing the doors of my church. Guys, this is so crazy on what I'm about to say to you, but if you believe in prophecy, I ran into a gentleman and he says to me, the doors of my church had to close because there were millions and millions of people waiting to work with me. So I wound up going forward with all of that, and I wound up getting a call. Like I said to you, Knock, which is the ghostwriter of Dr. Dre, and has done so much work with Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, et cetera, et cetera. I became his manager. From there, I began to manage, then also PR, and that took me on. It took me down the road. I start developing that and turned. I wound up turning my company to Mismatch Marketing when I picked up everyone, and I start doing PR and marketing, and I'll explain why. So let me just break that down really quickly. It is so important that you have to examine the person that you're trying to present to the public. So you have a territory, you have the product, you have the person, and it requires you to do research on all of these things just for one person and the item of what you're trying to present to the public. And Nocturno was a hip hop artist, and he still is. I believe he's a platinum hip hop artist on top of that, guys. And so, and he was trying to, not trying to, but we did it. He wanted to reestablish his life. And I believe Sony was the person that wound up picking us up after searching so much. And I think he also had an opportunity with Wu Tang, a contract at one time, and we decided to go with Sony. So when I think about the statement about the children, you have to find your passion. God has already equipped all of us with our passion, and our passion is what will make room for us. On top of it, it is what will feed us. Like, I think that's the most beautiful things. People are constantly trying to find them. If they would just begin with their gifts and talents, and they will find their purpose in life. And so if you would enhance that and begin to walk into the maturity of it, because sometimes people say they want to do something, but they don't want to take on the labor of their gift and talent. And you have to learn, you have to do the hard work, payment. So, of course, time have changed. Back then with marketing, we had to knock on the doors. We had to do CDs, flyers. We had to go into the clubs. We had to go into the churches, convince the DJs to be able to spin your music and so forth. And then also to be able to inundate the colleges out there. I think I might have spent a lot of time at the colleges because usually the college's crowd would introduce it to the public. And then in regards to gospel music, the churches would introduce the music to the to the people. They want you to play it or things like that. And you, of course, old school flyers. So of course we know that time period has ended a little bit because now we have electronic flyers and billboards. Uh, you would find junior billboards were the most reasonable ones, and also at the train stations, things like that. And then the last thing that's going to be so silly, and it was very famous, it still is. We used to wear around T-shirts with our name on it or the person that we were promoting, and the person would see it. And then the last very thing that everybody probably forgot about. Do you remember the famous info commercials at nighttime? They were very reasonable, and at nighttime, people were always up. You could run a CD or purchase now your love CD or so and so is coming to the theater, and then the Quiet Storm. I think every radio station have one, and I also dibbled and dabbled in radio as well. I had my own radio show with I can't even remember with a gentleman that passed along. His name was Ron Heyman. But I had a radio show with IBM for you, I think .com or something like that back then. So I've literally worked in every avenue as well as the church, from ordained pastor down to choirs to minister, usher board, all of that. You have to be willing to work your gift, and your room will make room for you. So I'm gonna stop there because I can go a little bit more because I got to get to talk.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. And again, if you tuning in, this is the management and marketing discussion of the 2022 first annual Mentors of Performing Arts and Broadcasters Virtual Conference presented by Birdsong Association of Broadcasting and Arts, known as BABA. Okay, Wanda, same question.
Well, my name is Wanda Adams. I am the owner and CEO of Marketing Ministry LLC and also A&A Management Firm based out of Atlanta. I've been doing this a very long time, y'all. Uh, God has blessed me. I'm also a licensed and ordained minister. I do teleconference every Sunday, and I minister at church in Hugo, Oklahoma. So I fly from Atlanta to Hugo. So I've worked with some amazing people. I was able to do marketing for Dorothy Norwood. I did marketing and booking for Paul Porter. I was a manager for Lemmy Battles for up until 2021. I've worked with the amazing Tanya Dallas Lewis, Todd Delaney. I worked him when he first came out the gate from being a baseball player. I've worked Bishop Larry Trotter. I worked Lodge 3. I worked with Dottie Peoples. You name it. And don't get, I mean, I've done a lot of indie artists. Trish Stanley, Keisha Rainey. Um, I have never did anything but ministry. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I started doing a magazine called Glow, standing for God's Ladies of Work. We were syndicated. We had deals with Faye. It used to be Gospel Music Channel. I was enlarging our territory. And God told me, touch anything but ministry. And I've stayed true to that for 20 years. And so I believe that everybody has a gift and calling on their life, even young people. I'm a mother of seven, y'all. My youngest is 25. I ain't gonna tell you how my oldest one is because you'll guess my age. But even when I look at my children, I make sure that they stay obedient to what God has called them to do. And if I have to say anything to young people, you have to sit back. Don't want what other people have. Don't want what you think you want to what people. You are inspired by what God has imparted in you. And I know that from a mother's perspective. And I can tell you, I have five girls and two boys. And God, my prayer each night, and I pray over these young people that are listening, that God continues to enlarge your territory. You just got to stay fast. You're going through your processing. You may make some mistakes, you may miss it, but God is faithful to his word, and he will bring you through. And I tell that to my children. And God has done some amazing things in my children. And it's not because of Wanda, not because of me at all, but I be that example to them. And I love what I do. Is it always easy in this industry? No. When you look at people, the first thing you get is people say, I want a manager. But my thing is, you got to have something to manage. Now, if you don't have nothing to manage, let me develop you as an artist. I'm not saying I can't help you, but there's artist development. So you have to have that humble spirit. Even me, I have that humble spirit. And everybody that's on this call will tell you, if you know more than us, that's just real talk. Because we can't help you. You may say, I want to be here, I want to be there. It may not be your time to be there because everything happens in God's perfect timing. Trust me on that. It doesn't matter how far you want it, Dr. Birdsong. It doesn't matter. God's going to open those doors when He's ready to open the doors. And I know I'm preaching now. Y'all can send me offering.
Thank you so much for asking that question. It is very important. As like I mentioned, if you tuning in, this is the management and marketing discussion of the 2022 first annual Mentors of Performing Arts and Broadcasters Virtual Conference. So tonight we're talking about management and marketing in the industry and how our young people can be successful in this part of the entertainment industry. And please post your comments on this discussion. The next question is, how can young aspiring managers, marketers, and PRs can succeed in the entertainment business? And each of you have 5 minutes to answer that question. I'm gonna start with you first, Wanda.
Well, young people, you got to know your audience. You got to know the business. See, a lot of people come over and want to do this and think it's just something you can do by fly by night. But no, you got to study everything. You know, just because somebody is a manager don't mean they are a manager. You got to know this business. You got to know who you're representing. You got to recognize in the person that you are representing what their strength, their weaknesses, and everything else. Because if you don't, you won't be able to help them. And so, we got to study. And that's one thing I see when artists come into this industry. They want to blow up and be on radio, but they have no idea. what the business sense is. They don't know that they're not just an artist, they're a business entity. They don't know how to get their business license. They don't know that they need to pay taxes. They don't know. They just want to get the money and sell a few DVDs or sell a few download cards and go to the mall. No, you have to have working capital. And we have to teach you how to have a working capital. So I want to say to young people, know what you're getting into. Know the business aspect of it. Because I spend almost 99% of my time educating people. And what happens is when they come to us as publicists or managers or whatever, it's times where I work for a little bit of money, but our services aren't free. We got to do things for you. And so when you come in and you don't have enough money to last you 6 months or 9 months, what's going to happen? You're going to fall to the wayside. And when you decide to come back, you're going to start all over again. And you have to have consistency. I look at, like if you look at, I don't know if y'all remember Tanya Dallas Lewis, but she was nominated for 2 Doves, Grammys, uh, a Stella Award the first year out. But we did consistency. And I was her manager for a long time till, she decided to go a different path. She doesn't sing anymore the same with some other people. But even with Todd Delaney, he's up in the top 5 because of consistency and hard work. And these are young people. And so when you come in and you say, "Oh, I'm not making no money after 6 or 9 months," I tell people you may not make none for 2 or 3 years.
That's right.
You
That's
got to sow
You
some
talking
seed.
right. You talking right.
And so uh, it's God. Like I tell them when they come to hire me, it's nothing special about me, y'all. It's what God does through me. And you have to listen. And so I want to encourage the young people, whatever you do, know the business aspect of it first. Because you can't operate if you don't know the business. And I'm going to yield the floor because I'm like, Yolanda, I'm going to talk.
Thank you so much, Wanda. Pastor Bell, same question.
Listen, I'm just enjoying this. I'm just enjoying listening to Sister Wanda and Yolanda. I first of all, I identify with both of them. I guess it's because we are all in this same thing, and have had to do many things very similar, because it's not a cookie cutter thing.
Come on
What
now.
works for what worked for Shirley Caesar doesn't work for Tremaine, doesn't work for CC Winans, doesn't and so things have to be catered, and it is not one size fits all. Now there are some things that all ought to be praying and all ought to be seeking the Lord for what it is that he would have them to do. But I'm enjoying hearing the ladies speak, because first of all, a few of them, some of the stuff you've mentioned, I know all about that, and some of them as well. So, but I find myself, quite frankly, in a very interesting, even to me in my own life, having come up and in radio and television. And I was doing voice work for BET, the Bobby Jones Gospel Show, and as a matter of fact, I introduced Dorothy Norwood on a few of her live albums. That's me saying Evangelist Dorothy Norwood.
Wait a minute. We met in DC.
Yes, we did. That was her last recording. Yeah. And so, but and I love the old school. I love the old school. And I have to say this though, and you kind of touched on it too, but and it's not just them. I'm not picking on my old school dear heart loved ones and friends, but some artists are not keeping up with their own industry. And sometimes the artist becomes their own hindrance by not learning, see, some folks just want to go out and sing and just want to go and be wonderful and all of that. But young people, whether you are a singer, book writing, whatever it is that you're doing, it's going to require some marketing and promotion so that people will know about it. But you also have to get yourself educated, get yourself, accredited, or do some courses, or, do more practicing, rehearsing. I say this, I tell young people, ministers, all of that. I don't care if it means practicing in the mirror in your house. you must be prepared with no place to minister than to have a place to minister and not be prepared. And you don't want to go out there thinking, you're ready for the Kennedy Center stage and you've never even performed at your local church. You're not ready for the big platform if you haven't even done, a storefront someplace, because it's not just exercising young people. It's not just, putting on a show, being seen or whatever, but it's also about perfecting and preparing. And so every opportunity becomes preparation for the next opportunity. And now we're in such a almost frightening time, because I don't care how many people's in the house. We're at a time now where your best promotions and marketing is going to come from the World Wide Web, because it might be 10 people in the audience in the room with you, but if one person got one of these phones and they go Facebook Live on you, it is forever, and it's out there, and people can watch it and watch it and watch it. So you also have to be aware that the audience in this day, see, back in the day, it could be 20 people in the room, and it was 20 people in the room. So the rest had to be hearsay as to what happened. But you have to be careful. You have to be conscious. You have to be active and proactive. You have to believe in yourself. You have to certainly study. You want to constantly develop. You must be consistent. It's nothing worse than making a big splash and no follow-up. It makes people wonder how sincere that was if you're not consistent. And so, when you show up, keep showing up. When you a few folk gonna say no, a few folk gonna turn you around, but sometimes you gotta show up anyway and get back up in their face and stick to it, stay at it, stay prayerful, and showing up is so very key. And as I said before, a lot of times the young people, and this is not beating up on young people, because there's some older people that don't want to do what needs to be done either. Older folk feel like, they studied already and you don't have to study no more. But it is a constant work. I love what you said about consistency, continuity. Those things are absolutely key, and you watch others, but you can learn something from other folk. It's okay to be influenced by other folk, but make sure you don't lose who you are in the watching and in the being influenced, because God has given you a very specific thing. We don't need another Kirk Franklin, another Yolanda Adams. We don't need enough. We need you to be you, and let you do your part. The body hath many members, and each one of them have been gifted in particular. So do your thing. Find out what that thing is, and then just exercise it before you thinking you're ready to manage somebody else. Show them what you have managed. Manage yourself. Promote, market what it is that you do. You might not even have any customers, but you ought to have a program. You ought to have a plan. You ought to, it's just like you can't get a loan. You can't go into business without having a business plan. Mm-hmm. Even before the doors of the business open, your plan. Scripture says, write it down, write the vision down, that they that read it may be able to run with it. So if you can't come to me with what you want me to do for you when you don't even know who you are. So you can't get around. Too many people jump out there, and that's where a lot of our horror stories come from. That's why there's a lot of popular broke artists today, because they did not do their work, they did not study, they were not consistent, as all these things that have been said. They were not before the Lord in what it was and what the Lord would have them to do, because not only that, he will sustain you. He'll lift you up and keep you when there are no, folk like to say gigs, when there are no opportunities. But you have to, whether there's opportunity or not, you have to stay sharp. You have to stay ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, So be ye also ready. It's so much. I think that we can all, because the other thread that we all have is that ministry piece. So we can all talk and preach and preach and preach. But, So we ain't gonna finish. We just gonna pause, and I will pause right here.
Thank you so much, Pastor Bell. And before I have Yolanda to, before she gets the same question, and we're gonna continue on with the managed marketing discussion. What you are saying is so true because one thing about managing marketing, artists they have to come to them, ready prepared. And sometimes some artists says, go to managers and PRs think they know everything, but sometimes they like, okay, you're gonna find out the hard way. So the purpose of this it's all about learning and growing and development, and that's how you're gonna succeed and beat the odds. So
Well,
again,
Brother James, since
go
you
ahead.
make that point, what I would like to say is when I consider the time that I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate to, I mean, I started with the Richard Smallwood Singers, and then to Vanessa Bell Armstrong, and to the Hawkins family and Tremaine Hawkins. So it was because I kind of went straight from 0 to 100, and then I had my we used to call them at that time, we used to call them local artists per se, those that were from the Washington area that wanted me to help them to become who these other folk were. But it's a lot of space. It's a lot of space between when you're starting in a home front platform to becoming, the Hawkins family, So I didn't necessarily have experience in what to do with them. But as I have had to stay connected and involved, because it's an ever-changing thing. I mean, we didn't have social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all this stuff we got now, we were mailing stuff and calling people, and all of that was happening, and just kind of showing up, doing, taking 95. We drive 95 up and down, and then take 85 and come on over into Atlanta, and all of that. But now things are, now you can text, you can do all these things, but you still have to, everybody that's involved in this is still learning new ways, because the industry is constantly changing. Record companies don't necessarily even have the power that they once had. You've got a lot of independent artists. And those independent artists are looking for people like Sister Wanda and Yolanda, because a lot of them, I'm saying, it ain't me, but it is an ever-changing industry. The door is wide open for these young people to jump on. I'm glad that you are doing this kind of thing, that you are concerned and gearing toward young people, because it is them, that Sister Wanda, I have 5 children, 4 girls and 1 boy, and listen, I can go to a couple of them for technology assistance. You know what I mean? So it's going to be them that helps us. And so, teaching them and standing with them and being by them. I don't care how contemporary it becomes. There's still some traditional foundational pieces that just will not ever change. And you got the computer and the laptop and all that now, but it's still ASDF JKL semi. So there's some traditional roots. That's the base, the foundation. Certainly Christ is our solid rock, but you've got to educate. You got to find out. You got to get in there. And you brought that up, so you just sparked that, because it's so important what Yolanda and Wanda, what we're all saying. And some of it comes from a place of frustration too. We're not going to do names or nothing, but this thing will cause you to have some frustration that you have to exercise self-control.
Yes, let me right on that.
Go ahead, Yolanda, and then we got to continue on with this, with the questions. Go ahead, Yolanda. Same question.
Yeah, I'm answering the same question. One of the things I really want to bring to educate to everyone that's watching, that are the youth. And this is so important. So if you're listening to me, please write it down, because it's never going to change. First of all, I know it's so quickly to ask someone to become your manager. Everybody wants to go and get a manager because they want to avoid costs, but they forget that when you ask for a manager to come on board with you, that manager is looking at you as an investment. That means that they're looking for ROI. What do that mean? That means a return on their investment. That's what it means.
Uh-oh.
Continue, Yolanda.
That means, I apologize for that. So that means that they're looking for the return on their investment. So it also requires you to invest into yourself as well. That means that you can't just expect the manager to take their hard-earned money and invest into you. So that means that you have to invest your time developing your skills, going and providing photos that's going to help brand you to the public with either marketing or a package that allows us to introduce you to the public through something called a EPK. That's electronic press kit that can have several things that you have done, as well as your image, your look, as well as press that's attached. See, I come from with my company, I do two things. I'm PR and marketing. And why I did that is because I knew the factor of the importance of presenting you to the media outlets as well as marketing your product. They go hand in hand. You can't do one without the other. There's no way. On top of it, it is so important to begin to learn the business. If you are an artist, please go and get your name established. If you are an artist, please open up a ASCAP so that your materials can make money. ASCAP is how you're going to get your money. The Congress of Library, this is where you're going to take the item that you're trying to develop and have it legally recorded. It is so important to do that. Again, also too, you have to learn about the rules and regulations of what the manager is going to look to get back. He or she might want 10%, and some managers will also fine you when you do not show up. The fine fees can be very detrimental to you, which can also be added to the account, so that it's a possible chance. If you made $10,000 within that year, it's a possible chance all that money might be really owed to the manager because they have invested into you financially. See, we don't want to talk about those things when people start saying, oh, someone took this and they took that, and their time and energy. So you have to give back on that return of that investment. Again, any artist should have a LLC out there because you got to pay Uncle Sam along with whoever else that you might have to pay. Please note that all of these radio stations and magazines and everything else, everything isn't free. When you hire a publicist, you're going to pay either a monthly fee going forward. If you hire a manager, he or she might want a 10 and some want 20%. Some will, there's another different type of management. Some will manage your career and your finance and don't promise you anything. There's a lot of different types of management contracts. There's a lot of different types of PR contracts. So again, it's business first. It's more 80% of the business and 20% of doing that gift and talent out to the public. I know that everyone might be shocked right now to hear me say that. But I need you to understand that, and I need you to make sure that you're set up correctly. In regards to distribution, distribution could be anything. It can be from film, magazine, television. Everything talks about in percentages, from starting from 100% on how you will make or retain your royalties of the things that you give away, and most of all, ownership of your product. And I say the word product because product could be anything as well. You need to obtain and keep and maintain your product. And if I start talking in terminologies from music, your publishing right, You never ever want to give that away. That's for lifetime. You're gonna will it over. And I need everyone to start thinking, because we don't talk about this either, is that once you build that business, you need to start worrying about your trust fund, will it into trust. You need to take the money that you're making and start refinancing it into silver and gold, and then later liquidate it as needed. It's about building platforms, building a empire. Everything, when we say, oh, I don't want to think of the Bible, but the Bible even tell you to multiply. When we think about our gifts, when God gave one talent, can't quote it, guys, but 3 gifts, he was looking for them to multiply. So everything is to enlarge your territory. You must, like everything else, a baby has to practice how to crawl. From crawling, then they have to walk. So everything is going to require you to practice. And most of all, if a teacher is coming to teach you, then you have to listen to the teacher. You have to receive the information. That's the reason why you ask them to help you. And sometimes, guys, it does not seem like it goes this way, but it goes that way. And the last part that I want to indicate is that when you start working on all of these things, whatever title, whatever your dreams are, it's the fairy tale world is going to be diminished. And what I'm talking about? You're going to find out that these artists, these actors, actresses, PR, our due diligence and the grind that we have to have. We can't say no to something, to an opportunity. If we work too hard to open up a radio station, if it's iHeart radio station, they could have given it to 1,000,001 other people. So don't be so quick to turn away from it and say, oh, I'll do it the next time because I have to work. I have to work at my job and everything else. That's still a job and a business. And tomorrow it might not be promised to you. I tell everyone in the business, you have minutes, moments, and seconds to make a decision. So you have to embrace what you proclaim that you are. And if you're proclaiming it, then darn it, do the work. Do the work. Move forward and do the work. Don't give an excuse. We don't have time for an excuse. That's the reason why some of us will drop you. We will drop you because of your work ethics. If you do not, you can't expect me to put in 100% and you're only putting in 20. In regards to the money, it took God, 7 days to make this world, guys? Talk to me, someone. Okay.
Nick.
And if it took him that long, and we know he's almighty, he could have blinked his eyes and did it. There was a reason. Why? Because it's called the word process. Everything has a process, and you're going to have to learn how to trust the process of you being molded and found and being shaped into this beautiful thing that God has called you already. So please, business first, develop that foundation, then your licenses, because Uncle Sam's going to come and try you, or business or people. And yes, you need an attorney for everything that you do. I know you can have a manager, but you need your own personal attorney to be able to review over the documents, even whatever we may give you. And everyone should always seek another advisor to make sure they're making the right decisions, because you cannot, at the end of the day, blame anybody else. We are people-oriented people, but we are doing business with you. And that means that when a person comes and says, I would like XYZ to provide the type of services that you're asking. So do that mean that it's written in stone? No. That is your opportunity to rebuttal and say, well, maybe we can do it at this number, and maybe we can do it at this percentage. And I'm promising to go to every event if you're doing management. And if I miss that event, my penalties will be X, Y, Z. If you, one more time, if you agree to that contract, then you must adhere to it because you and that person became into an agreement of it. Now, once you agree, you can't fault anybody else but yourself. And one of the things that I don't like to hear so much in life is that a lot of people wouldn't have had what they had if they didn't meet whoever it was, whether it was good or bad. And actually, guys, it becomes bad when you finally learn the education of business and then you say to yourself, oh, I could have did this at 10% instead of 20%. But that's part of learning on how to do business. And so it's about growing. Please take adhere of what I'm saying to you. Go and do your Congress, your Washington D.C. to Congress to get your stuff registered and recorded so nobody could ever take something away from you. Get an attorney. Can't afford attorneys. There are other attorneys that will still review your documents. You can even go to those colleges that'll still review it and tell you the basic of law. If you don't have the funds, please don't make excuses. You can still at least make the attempt. Get your LLC. It takes a minute and a moment to do it online. Some states register at $250. When you get the EIN number, it takes a minute of seconds. And I think they give you up to 30 days to fully register without removing or closing that LLC down. And then start learning all of the other things. And then most of all, this is an investment. You must also invest into yourself. Do not expect us to do all of the work. It does not work that way. And so I know that I've given everyone an ear beating. I'm giving it this is not an ear beating. It's in love of saying I want you to be successful and not make the mistakes of all the legends out there. And they would even sit down and tell you the same thing. So I'm Yolanda Mack. Like I said to you, I've worked with a lot of people. I haven't really named a lot of people. I'm not into all of that. My biggest concern is that I love people and I always want people to do well. And I don't want people throwing rocks when someone like us or whoever comes and help you. And then now you turn around and turn on the teacher that's trying to teach you because you think it don't go this way. And unfortunately, the fairy tale doesn't, and the imagery and everything else goes away. And it's what we create. Every day I enhance someone's gifts and talent. Every day I create something different that the client did not even think about doing. And then it's the gift within me that God has given me, which you're part of my destiny to enhance you to the world. So you can't do my job. You can only do your job, and then we can take each other's hand and walk in agreement. You don't hear me, but don't get me preaching. We can walk in agreement. And then on top of the agreement, you're going to have to trust the process because it's not going to look right. Even when the people didn't know, they ran upon the hope, which is the Messiah, Jesus. They didn't think that he was the Messiah. How could he possibly look this way? Well, how can the entertainment or music or that marketer or that publicist is demanding you to do these things, or how he or she gets the opportunities for you, and then you just feel as though I don't feel like doing it right now. You don't feel like doing it right now. How can you do that? You got minutes and moments and seconds to be successful. What happens when the day that the one thing that you turned away and the person says, 2012, we gave you an opportunity and you said no, we lost $10,000 on your head. It's still a business. They're not your friend. They're not. We have business associates and business relationships. So please keep it right there. It is a business and you are working on your business. We are business to people. We are people-oriented people. We provide services. So that means that the last thing, I'm going to wrap this up, that means that in that contract, if you agreed to pay whoever X amount of dollars, and if you feel like after a month later you want to walk out of your agreement, you have breached your contract. And that means that you will still have to pay that full contract out because you agreed to it. Okay? So that's it. I think I wrapped it up for all of us, right, guys? Did I bring it home?
Good. You did good. It's
I brought it home. So I want them to know all of those things. I don't want them to guess at it. Now you don't have to guess at any of this anymore. So there's a reason why we are the professionals that you went to, because of all of our hardships or the schooling that we have went through. And most of all, the last thing, 1,000 seller mans can't be wrong if we have had all of these people. So we must be doing something right. I rest. I'm Yolanda Mack, guys, with Miss Mack Marketing. I didn't even say who I was fully, but I'm Miss Mack Marketing. Been out there over 14 years. A background with pharmaceutical, and like anything else, all things is possible. When the pharmaceutical company went down, I took every bit of the talents and gifts and businesses and corporate knowledge, because they were a Fortune 500 company, and I worked with presidents and controllers all my life. I took all of that knowledge and created my business. So, of course, all things are possible, but you're going to have to allow someone to teach you the way. And once you learn that, you must apply it, because we're going to apply it, and it's going to be given to you. It might be tight, but it's going to be right. That's it.
Thank you so much, everybody. We have to continue on because we got to be mindful of the time right now. But I do want to say this: everything which you had said, especially Yolanda, is so true, because this is what our young people who want to be aspiring managers and marketers and PRs need to know. So I just want to tell all the young people who's watching tonight, please apply to what was presented just now, and to the parents. This is very important. This is what our organization is about: preparing today's youth as voices in arts and broadcasting. This is so powerful. It really is powerful. Okay, the next question is, and each of you have 5 minutes each to answer this question. The next question is, can you explain the importance of having a mentor as an aspiring manager, marketer, and PR? And we're gonna start with you, Yolanda. Each of you have 5 minutes to answer that question.
Okay. So I have a great mentor, and I love.
Hold on, everybody. We'll go ahead, Yolanda.
You hear me? Okay.
Yes,
So
go ahead.
my one of my mentors is Angela Ellaby. Mr. Angela Ellaby is known globally for a lot of his clients like Dionne Warwick, Intune, Robert Cool Bell from Cool and the Gang, and he has given me opportunities to work with him with different accounts. And one of the things about this man, his I mean, guys, he's incredible, but he's a no nonsense man. He do not play, and he will talk about your contracts and having all of these things in place. So when your mentor is telling you these things, write it down, because there's going to be a day that you too are going to face maybe some of those things that he or she has been through. So add those things to your life. Listen, remember I said to you, everybody comes as a teacher. Everybody. There's always something that you can learn. And if you're not learning, then you might as well say you're dead. You have to be learning every day. And you have to make sure that whoever is giving you that knowledge, that it's also being applied to their life. You should be able to see the growth. You should be able to see the wealth. You should be able to see, because we live in a world of action. Action. So something is growing and everything else, and then something is also dying. So pay attention to all of those things and please apply it to your life.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. Wanda, same question.
Well, I know this may sound corny to most of you guys, but the Holy Spirit is my mentor. It
Yep.
dwells inside me. And so he leads and guides me to where I need to go, even sometimes when I don't want to go. But I
Mhm.
trust the Holy Spirit more than I trust anything. See, in
You're right.
me doing this, as I'm listening to Yolanda and Pastor Bell, I remember him in D.C. at Reed Temple now. He probably don't recognize me because half my hair was shaved off. But I'm gonna say this, James. Please allow me. I'm not gonna consume more than my 5 minutes. But we got to realize marketing is just another word for advertisement and branded. It used to be a time when people come to us and you say, okay, what do you want to do? What's your budget? They say, oh, I got $10,000. What do you want to be? You want to be on this? Do you want to do commercials on BUT? We don't do that anymore because most artists do not have a budget to do that. So what we do, especially in gospel, you know this, Pastor Bill, we barter. We say, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll put you here, I'll put you there. When you look at public relations, that deals with media. We get you a well-written press release will go a long, long way. And the industry's changing. So I had to say this because right now we're into streaming. You know, people may not want to hear this, but radio's getting ready to die, y'all. Effective November 1st, there's no more BDS. RCS Media Base has taken over BDS. And Media Base deals more with secular. If you go to gospel church, you'd be like, Ella May, what Christian song she got? So the inspirational stations is playing more secular music now. And when you look at the other side of it, we're into the virtual things. There's going to be, I was talking to um, a technician and my youngest daughter, all my kids are grown, but she goes to the Atlanta Art Institute and she's gaming and technology. They got a device that's coming out in a couple of years where you'll be able to put on your little device and see any gospel artist or any uh, singer, secular, whatever, and it's just like you're going to be singing with them.
Hmm.
So you got to understand the business and how it's evolving. Everybody's excited about internet radio. So I'm glad you're number one, but they ain't gonna do nothing for you. It's not gonna get you no Grammy nod. It's not gonna get you no Dove nod. It's not. You may get a Stellar Award with it, but it's not gonna do anything national. And artists need to know. And I say this to young people: don't despise small beginnings, because if you faithful over a little, God will make you ruler over much. So when I took all of these artists, we done every chitlin circuit, every gag. I done drove, picked them up. We did Dr. Bobby Jones' Gospel in DC. We done it in Nashville. We done every gag event, everything that you have to do. And I want to say this: if you young people, if you want to be in this business, and there's are times like most of the people say that you got to put out money. I want you to realize, don't throw cash or pearls before swine. There's some things you shouldn't have to pay for. You should be paying for no showcasing. And I said it, and don't call me, but I said it. Because when you pay for it, what's going to happen is that you're going to pay this money and they're going to put you at the tail of the end and you're going to sing to other artists because time one gets through singing, they go into the next gig. You're not going to sing behind Dorinda or anybody else. They're going to sing first, they're going to draw that crowd, and they're going to go into the next event. So you got to know your worth. You got to learn. See, this is with our young people. You got to know your worth, know who you are. And I'm done.
Thank you so much, Wanda. Pastor Bell, same question. Can
Uh,
you explain the importance of having a mentor as an aspiring manager, marketer, and PR? You have 5 minutes.
I can, but I'm telling you, this is so exciting. I'm enjoying listening, really. I'm so enjoying listening. And I have to say that also because I've worn just literally every hat. From radio announcer, voiceover technician, artist manager, artist representative, road manager, producer, event promoter, in the 80s and 90s. I literally brought in everybody. I mean, these folks have been my friends. I mean, Fred Hammond played the bass for the Winans when we first met. And I mean, Kirk Franklin used to come to my class at the Hawkins Music and Art Seminar. And, it really goes back. And sometimes mentioning names is important, just like reading your bio and sharing your info. It is important. So folk need to know that you ain't just got up and thought of this, and there is no such thing as overnight success. My overnight success is taking 45 years. And so, but sticking to it and consistency and continuity and now through all of that, these people are my friends. These people are my family. I mean, I was with the Smallwood Singers. My very first event with them was in 1981 because I was the first person to play the Southeast Inspirational Choir album in DC. And that album was a Black album with white writing. The hit song from that was My Liberty. There was a young woman. We didn't know that she was a young woman, and we certainly didn't know how young a woman she was, but that would have been a teenager, Yolanda Adams. Mm-hmm. And because I was traveling with the Smallwood Singers, and I had played their record in Washington, D.C., they asked me to be a host of their choir anniversary. And there we met Vanessa Bell Armstrong, who was another special guest to that choir anniversary. And Richard nor Vanessa's first album, hadn't even come out yet. But they were working from hearsay, and the buzz was out that you got to get ready for this new group. You got to get ready for this woman that kind of puts you in the mind of Aretha Franklin. Those kind of things. But it was because of people like Richard, who gave me opportunity. People like the late Howard Sanders, who owned the radio station at WYCB, that brought me in as a teenage boy and let me be on the air and even have a show. But that was because he also saw me around and at events and at this church. And every time something was happening, that little boy keeps showing up, So those kind of things, young people. And then these people, they do, in fact, end up becoming your mentor. There's my friend who is yet with us, a great example, whom I watched, Armstead Edwards, who managed Patti LaBelle for many years, and several others that he also managed. There's just been many. Lee Maggot, who managed Mahalia Jackson. He managed Della Reese, and he managed Tremaine Hawkins. There were, and then my friend Marshall Resnick, who ran an incredible agency out of New York and Los Angeles, and also booked a group you might know about, Brother James, the Supremes, and so there were so many. But these people, the way that they did business, they did business, and then maybe they would go eat with you and would later become your friend. And this was after there was an opportunity to see character and integrity, because a lot of times, and you have to be careful for the wolves in sheep clothing, and in this, and including in the gospel music ministry industry, who you going out to eat and you laughing and joking and having all this fun, but they ain't have the business done. You got to do I believe business first, and the Holy Ghost is a real mentor, sure enough, because he will lead you and guide you and help you to be able to discern. I tell folk quick now, I'll see you at the soundtrack at 3:00. I can go take myself to eat. I need you to have the business together to have what we need. And then after we have a great time, then we can kind of relax and let's do that. But, business is first. And so I had some great mentors that showed me and walked me through business. I'll tell you this, because Dorothy Norwood, look, don't ever get it twisted. That's a preaching, singing machine woman. but that woman will get up in your business stuff. And people have to understand that, and business has got to be okay. Jesus did business. There's business involved, and it's okay. People don't like to talk about money. People think that that anything free, somebody paid for. People like to preach salvation. Salvation is not free. It might be free to you, but Jesus paid for it.
Yeah.
So there everything, and then there are opportunities. I love what Sister Wanda said about the showcases.
Oh, don't call me out.
baby, some showcases ain't been nothing but a money maker, and have been very unfortunate to people that have paid hundreds of dollars to perform to 20 people after the showcase started off with 500 people or so, and then at the end of the day, and by the time they perform, it's 18 people holding on. But there's some things, and before you do that, find out what your mentors have to say about these showcases. Find out if this is what. Here's what I did. A lot of times I would see what Armstead would say about this. I would check with some of my mentors to see what they think about this particular situation. Your mentors kind of become your circle of advisors, and many times your circle of advisors are confirming what the Holy Ghost has already told you. And then if you press through that and go ahead anyway, let me just say this: it's nothing like hearing that Holy Ghost say to you, well, you did that to yourself, because I already told you. It's an awful feeling. But so yes, it's there's spirituality involved, and don't think because spirituality is involved that business cannot simultaneously be involved. And that's real, and I know that's real, but I also know that there's a lot of people, especially when you're in gospel music and ministry, a lot of folk like to hide behind that and not discuss business, and not, they ain't saying because we ain't have all that money. Okay, well, that's what we agreed to, right? You was gonna have the money and we was gonna sing. So but that's business. Many times there's difficult situations that you can find yourself in, but it really is a good thing to have some mentors that you have watched, and you can see the fruit of what their labor is, and have those conversations. Ask them, well, what would they do? What would you do when it happens like this? Because things are constantly happening. And so it's a great question to our young people, great thing to put out there about mentors and mentorship, and that. So again, I applaud you, Brother James, for this platform and this opportunity and bringing us together, because yes, I absolutely remember Wanda, and I'm familiar with both of your names, but to be able to share this platform and hear from your hearts, because we're also in a time where everybody's clicking and liking and writing stuff, but we don't get to hear no voices, and we don't get to interact like this. So I'm grateful again for this opportunity and for this time.
Thank you all so much. We have 3 more questions, and you all have 5 minutes each to answer them. The next question is: as managers, marketers, and PRs, how important are you to have representation in the entertainment business? Should they attain the services for the careers to advance to the next chapter of their careers? And we're gonna start with you first, Pastor Bell.
I was kind of hoping you would have started with Wanda Adams, but or even Yolanda. But I'll tell you, ask your question again.
The question is to all of you: as managers, marketers, and PRs, how important are you to have representation in the entertainment business? Should they attain the services for the careers to advance in the next chapter of their careers? That's the question.
Well, once again, some things are unique to different people. It's unique to what it is they're trying to accomplish. Because quite frankly, you have some people, and I think probably one of the most consistent in gospel music industry and ministry is I would say is Shirley Caesar, who just stays out there. You know, she just stays out there. She's been out there for 60 plus years or whatever. But then there's other people that they just kind of only want to do this much, you know. So they may hire a team because of a particular project that they want, not necessarily a career. You know, their career is doing something else. Their career is over here doing this and doing that, but because they have this project or this book or this campaign or whatever it is, then they may hire a team, someone for promotions and marketing or even managing just to do that particular piece. You know, it's like my brother, the great Bishop T.D. Jakes. He has a whole warehouse of team members, but all of them are not doing everything. There is a team that deals with his ministry, that deals with the church, that deals with the Potter's House. There's a whole nother team that deals with the women thou art loose or whatever, whatever the various conferences, because some promotion and marketing people, they have a particular gift for working in a particular area. So everybody can't do everything. You know, you could help work on my music project, but you don't know anything about the publications of working on my book project. You may not, and that be completely different from what I might need for my church. Now, every now and then, there's some people that know how to handle, all of these things, but most often than more often not than to be so, they're generally they specialize and have a preference as to what area. So once again, that is about doing your homework and finding out and researching what this person has done, because some people, they're ready to take your, because they went through COVID too. So they're ready to take your money and take your funds and your deposit and everything and promising you things that they cannot deliver. So you should find out what areas have they worked in. Have you ever worked with an author? Are you your expertise only in the music industry? And even then, is it in gospel, jazz, R&B? You have some entertainment attorneys. They're entertainment attorneys, but all they know about is the world of hip hop. All they know about is the world of R&B. Now, true, a contract is a contract is a contract, but negotiating skills in different genres are also very important. So once again, concerning all of these things, management, promotions, and marketing, you want to look at what type of specialty and what area is it. Because a person can say they're an attorney. Oh, this is my attorney. But this dude is a real estate attorney. Okay, but he knows nothing about the entertainment. He knows nothing about he's real estate. So it's going to be different. So just like, and the same holds true in promotions and marketing. People have specialties in different areas of promotions, marketing, and management, and they are not always the same. You also want to know what kind of relationships do they have. You have some promotions people and marketing people that, they can't even get you a good social media blast, let alone television presence or radio interviews. And somebody said earlier, and I love that piece, because these people also work and have relationships that many times it's because when you hire them, you're also hiring relationships that they have. And it is because of the relationships that they have that can help to get you an opportunity. Now, don't mess with their relationship when you blow the opportunity, because sometimes it's because of my phone call that you got to be on, the Tom Joyner or the Steve Harvey morning show, because they believed what I said. And so when we say the interview is at 7:20, then you're supposed to be ready at 6:20, because the 7:20 interview no longer exists at 7:35, because 7:35 interview is somebody else's time. So, and they don't come back. You missed it. So there's so much, and a lot of this, when you have promotions, marketing, management people, they already have an experience, and you are tapping into their experience for them to help you. So you've got to do your research on who and what and all of that is, because it may or may not fit you. And quite frankly, it goes the other way around. Don't be offended. Don't be offended when they have a conversation with you and you don't fit what they do. I've had many people that talk to me and they want me, wish I could help them. And after listening to them, I'm not going to be able, I'm not the one. And it's okay. I mean, it certainly is okay with me, but it's like, it's you want to receive that and move to what fits for you. Just because she or he does marketing, promotions, and management, and even if they're willing to sign you up, don't be that gullible to have that without having done your own research. Because I tell you what, they are going to do their research on you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Bell. Wanda, same question. 5 minutes.
Well, I said this earlier. For my company and for me, everybody that comes to me wanting management, I ask a lot of questions. And I tell them, sometimes you're not ready for management. I need to develop you. You need artist development. That includes your look, your branding, um, your appearance. One thing in gospel, and I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm a realist. People think just because I can sing and I can weigh 500 pounds, it's okay. No, it's not. Your imaging is very important. So there's some things I can do to help you to get you ready for management. Because, like I said, what am I managing? I got to brand you, and branding goes way outside of social media. Like I said, a good press release will go a whole lot of ways. There's still commercials, and commercial time is real cheap now, but we don't take advantage of it. And so they got agency for everything. And in my company, we had one of the best entertainment lawyers there is. That's Garrett Johnson. And so that came with a package for my clients. Um, I wasn't one. I heard Yolanda. Yeah, I charge 20%. Don't pay it. Don't sign it if you don't want it. It's your choice.
Yeah.
And I know some of the industries in the industry charges 30%.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about in gospel. I don't know what's on the other side, but I'm telling you what's in gospel. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I'm the kind of manager. I want my 20%, and I only invest a $500 within a month. And as soon as I book you a date, I'm getting taking my 500 plus my 20% off the top. So you don't get a choice not to pay me. That deposit comes to me first. Whatever you
Nope.
owe me, then I send you a check. And that's the way it should be. And I'm telling you, I'm giving you free advice on how to look at things. And so when I go into this, I go into it with a clean and pure heart. I don't want 20% of your CD money. I only take my 20% off your booking. I don't want $5. What that gonna do me? My nails cost way more than that. So I don't want that. I don't take it. But I'm true to what I say. And so most of you, everybody should know Libby Battles. I made a whole lot of money from Miss Lemon, and she didn't have no problem paying me either, and sometimes gave me more. And so when you provide a service for people and it comes from your heart, I educate my clients like Yolanda was talking about licensing agencies. There's ASCAP, CCAT, BMI, and it's up to you to register your own music. Then you need to do a split sheet to say, everybody say write your own stuff. Now there's some people that sing that can't write. I got to know what you can do because some of them can't write. You need somebody to write something for you. But you may not get the writers of the publishing, the writers of the composition, but you get some of the publishing. Every client that I had, even at some, Pastor Bell knows, Dorothy Noel was number 15 with old Jesus. 15 with it. She didn't get not one dime or nothing because you know who wrote that? B. Mike McKay. And she knew it going in, but she made it up. She climbed number 15 on the BDS truck, they had an article out in Billboard that said Dorothy Noah tops herself. You know who knocked her out? Lecrae. So I'm saying when you know what you're doing, and like I said, I did her marketing for like 7 years. And I mean, she got a new project coming out now, but a lot of people, and that's why a lot of artists that had some consistency, and I know I got 2 minutes, Dr. Birdsong, um, are dropping off of gospel music because they tired of the tacky side. But they can't blame the tacky side because they entertain the tacky side. So you get desperate and you want stuff, and you just sell yourself out. And then you say, "Oh, I'm tired of gospel." Okay. We'll wait to see when Jesus say he tired of you. I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Wanda. Yolanda, same question, 5 minutes.
Okay, so I want to do something a little bit different to break down. So again, my company is Mismark Marketing, and I lead off with PR first, then marketing. But I want to break it down a little bit for the youth and the teenagers, young adults. So in the industry, so far we've been talking about PR, we've been talking about marketing, and we also been talking about management. They're all of them are very important with your career. So, but I want to break it down a little bit. So, marketing requires marketing dollars. That is not something that's free. That means that they ask you a budget of what you would like to spend out to the public, and then they develop an idea to the demographics that the public that you want to be able to go after to fall in love with you or hear or see your products. Okay, so I'm going to just make it a little bit simple, and then you try to get a statistic quota at the end to make sure that if your objective was to get it in front of 50,000 people, you were able to get it in 50,000 people. You get a report that will show you whether or not that reach was created with the marketing plan and also with the dollar amount of the money that you provided to do the marketing. Management. Like I said to you earlier, there was several different types of management. Usually, of course, again, we're coming into a new time now, but the average manager would take you on and they would ask for a percentage of what you made that they actually created for you, like getting gigs and everything else for you out there. And anything additional that the manager felt like they wanted to do, of course, again, that percentage was there. And so, and whatever that contract agreement that you and that manager did. I love how Pastor shared earlier with road managers that are road managers that travel. Again, that's a different type of management too, that will travel around the world with you. Around the world with you while they're touring with whoever, whatever, actors, actresses, gospel, whoever it could be. And then I'm a publicist. I am public relations. I am someone that's always in front of the public regarding your image, your likeness. And I'm also someone that will build stories around the management direction of the customer that we have together. So all of us will talk with each other, learn about the marketing. Actually, we'll do Zoom meetings. And as a public relation person, I create the imagery of the star that I'm creating and my relationships of media outlets, television, radios, magazines, podcasts, sponsorships. Sometimes sponsorships will come at my door. And then once in a while, the publicist will create those additional contracts where he or she can get a percentage, and it can range from 10 up to 30 and some a little bit more. A PR is paid monthly. We are a paid account. We are not free to the public. So that means that certain ranges that it'll start off, and we're constantly making different types of press release. What is a press release? A press release goes out to all of your media outlets. It could go out to ABC, Channel 7 News, and each of those outlets can be international. It can be national television where it's syndicated. That means that they can have over, I'm just making up anything, crazy number, but they could have over, in the United States, over 52 stations, and each station can have, I don't know, let's just make small numbers to give you an idea, 3 million people. And so the publicists have taken the manager's client that is our shared client and have placed them before the world. And the manager could have created a gig at Prudential, and the publicist came back and made Yolanda Mack from Miss Mac Marketing will be performing live at the Prudential Centers. Please contact her publicist for more interviews or radio interviews to learn more about it. And the manager could have created additional marketing from the radio side that says, Yolanda Mack from Miss Mac Marketing, you can get her tickets here at such and such and such and such. If you would like to meet her personally, please contact her management, Yolanda, Tim, whatever it is. And so I'm breaking it down like that because over the years, I used to get so many people that would knock on my door and say, Miss Mac, I want you to management. And yes, like I said to you, I used to do management. Did it with the Ghostwriter Nocturnal with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and all of that. I used to manage. And but what I loved more was building the hype. Or if someone had to come and my client did something and I'm like, no comment, allegedly he did that, you know? And I'm up day and night and I'm talking to ABC or like R-Truth from WWE was one of my clients, a former client of mine. And we went on to Sandra Bookman on ABC Channel 7 News. And the storyline was him coming to help kids up in New York City with, oh God, I can't trying to remember the foundation of it. And we did painting, we did a museum and all of that. And I contact ABC to tell them about this great and wonderful thing that Mr. Ron Killing, AKA R-Truth, was doing for this foundation with these special ed children, and that he was going to allow the special ed kids to paint around his painting, and then he was going to sign the document of it and put it up into the museum. Now that's all the hype that I just created. And then on top of the hype of it, Sandra Bookman interviews him in regards to what he was doing, because we wanted the public to know about what I put together in regards to the foundation to enhance the client to be more visible to the world. And of course, he still had a manager that was still there, but it was the image and likeness of the creation of what the publicist created for that manager's client. So everyone is very much needed. Marketing is sometimes, and the manager and the PR normally work hand in hand with each other. Everybody has a different contract and everyone has a different role and position. Last thing I'm going to share with you, can they cross over? Can you cross into another person's department once in a while? Absolutely. But it's about working together as a team. It is so important to have a good relationship with the manager, good relationship with the client that you're working with, and everyone coming together to go the direction of what our client is looking for and how he or she wants to be successful. And I'm going to end it right there.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for answering that question. We have two more questions for this discussion, and each of you have 5 minutes. Each of you have 5 minutes. Just give me a second here.
And I don't
Oh,
want to cut us short, but I got one more. I can do one more question, and then I have to cut it short. I'm sorry.
okay. Okay, I understand. The next question is, you should have 5 minutes. Let's talk about the business relationship as a connection between managers, marketers, PRs, and the media to promote clients. What will be your advice to a young person in this area of the entertainment business? Each you have 5 minutes, and Wanda, we'll start with you first.
Okay, well, in my company, I am the manager, I am the marketing person, and I am the public relations person. And I have worked with many teams, but when you're dealing in gospel with independent artists, they do not have the budget to pay everybody separately because it can end up to like $5,000 to $6,000 a month. And it used to be a time when people had that. So now I came up, and I also do radio promotion. I'm your one stop. But I did it again because the Holy Spirit told me to do it, not trying to cut nobody out, but to provide an opportunity for people who didn't have the resources so they could build the resources so they could advance things. And that's why I had to study and trust God to impart in me what to share with them. So again, we already discussed and defined marketing. We defined public relations,
Hmm.
management. Sometimes management is the last thing you need. I'm just being real. And I have a management firm. But if you're not developed as an artist yet, and if you did not understand the business aspect of it, that's why I do artist development to make sure you have your EIN number, to make sure you have your LLC or you're an incorporation, whatever you want to do. I defined all that. I defined all that to you. Uh, like I said, you have to have something to manage. You have to have something to market. You can market yourself if you don't have revenue.
Hmm.
And that's why a lot of stuff I barter, like Pastor Bell was saying, it's based on my relationship. I can go to a radio station and say, hey, I need for you to run an ad for me. You know why? Because I've done something for them. I can call on some of my artists, and say, hey, because it comes a time where every artist, I don't know how great you are, because you'll see now, need a little help. I can get a major artist to sing with an indie artist to break them. I mean, when you look at some of these, that's why you said this feature by this. Paul Porter has sung more with any other person ever in the world. Rance Allen, he had that number one hit with Rance Allen. It's you that I need. I mean, he said. I mean, you just Google him. He done been on everybody. Monica Lisa Stevenson gave her a hit. He sings with everybody. And so I remember Dorothy told me I had to listen to Tanya Dallas Lewis. She said she can sing Wanda, but she needs a little help. And so that's what you have to do for people in order to brand them, because it takes a while. You got to get out there and go to everything and have your. I mean, quit worrying about going to the Grammys and that, because once you go to the Grammys, I've been there. You ain't gonna walk no red carpet, and you gonna sit way up in the nosebleed section. The Doves are a little different. Doves changed their thing this year. They're not giving. I've had several people walk on the red carpet. They're not letting nobody walk on the red carpet this year, but the nominees, presenters, and performers. So you can go if you want to. So I mean,
Thank,
you have to know, and I'm gonna stop, James. I know you're trying to get these questions in. I'm done.
okay, thank you so much, Wanda. Yolanda has to go, but I'm gonna give her a few minutes to answer the question, and then I'm gonna give her closing. So let her give her closing remarks, and then she has to log off.
James, can you also give me the last question? Because I believe that the question that you're asking, I think I wrapped that up pretty much with
Okay.
what PR is, what marketing is, and what management is, and the additional road manager is too as well. So I think that I wrapped that up. And then the only last part that I did not share in regards to PR that is going to amaze a lot of people. A lot of PRs work with each other. You'll be surprised who's backing another artist or whoever's out there. They might call upon each other. And that also, those relationships move people faster when you know certain people. And so let me have the last one. And then,
The question I was asking everybody, Yolanda, and after you give your 5 minutes, then I'm gonna let you go and give your closing remarks. I know you gotta go. The question is, as managers, marketers, and PRs, how important for our youth to have representation in the entertainment business? Should they? Oh, hold on for a
I'm
second.
going to
Oh, no,
recap again.
that's the wrong question. I'm sorry. That's the
Okay,
wrong
like I
question.
said, I believe I answered that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had to go back. The question I'm asking, let's talk about just a minute, y'all. Yeah, let's talk about the business relationship as a connection between managers, marketers, PRs, and the media to promote clients. What will be your advice to a young person in this area of the entertainment business? So I'm gonna let you give you your 5 minutes to answer that question and your closing remarks, and then we're gonna go on.
Okay. All right. So I'm in agreement with when she said about management. I have no problems with managers or anything like that. I in the top stars and trying to see how I'm going to predict. All right, so let's say it like this. First of all, get all your business done, get all your documents done. I said to you, it's more 80% business, 20% of gifts and talents that you're going to 10% of gifts and talents, and then and 10% of developing yourself. Okay. Then going forward in regards to public relations, marketing, management, and all of those other different things. A lot of things can be picked up by sponsorships in regards to bargaining and so forth. If the public relations firm that you pick up or the publicist, I work along with multiple PRs. I work with celebrity PRs as well as regular PRs. And one of the things that I feel, my opinion, that no one can touch us on is the type of relationships that we have built. And I feel as though that PR is very, very much needed in order for someone to be successful. Now, you might say, okay, Yolanda, why do you say that? I just explained to you that we're the person that the journalist or the reporter or the television station runs to hear our statement from the publicist that is representing the client. If he or she goes out and do whatever it is, they run to us first. We create the narrative of the story, whether it's positive or negative. We create the narrative to be able to bring it out to the public. We're also the first line of defense with any of the projects that they're working on. There's a very, very thin line with whereas marketing can connect into that. And what I mean by that is not that the publicist is making marketing, is that he or she can piggyback off of some of the things where the client is traveling or going to participate in. And then the publicist will make the interviews for those locations, performances, events, I don't know, release, real estate, whatever that star is purchasing, she or he can constantly create those type of additional scenarios to it. Now, here's the other part that people don't realize is that you have all different types of level of introductory to PR. So you have good press, you have bad press. And some, and this is going to be the good and the ugly, don't beat me up, PRs out there. Some stories are created. Some people create stories. Or some people drop a dime to help create the additional story on where the star is at, so that sometime the press can find them. And like I said, this world is entertainment. And if you go and look at the definition of entertainment, it's you'll find to entertain people. And so PR is so detrimental to your career. It is going to create everlasting historical moments from PR and those interviews that you get from television, radio, magazines, and everything else. Whereas that you did not have to pay for it. It is the storyline that convinced the television station to take your story on, because it fits with the month of what the newsroom is presenting this month on. And you just made it for that story. And that PR is talking to that newsroom and saying, it's Harvest Day, and she's going to create, she's going to be doing trick-or-treating out of her home and singing blues or singing hip hop or whatever it may be. And the newsroom said, you know what, Yolanda? We like that story. We're going to run it, but here's where we're going to put it at. We're going to put it on and I'm making up fake names, guys, because I don't want to quote any names so nobody can say it's never been there. We're going to put it on Blue Lagoon's show, because they're going to be doing the morning show, and they're going to be at the high school. And so when he goes and do the news, we're going to ask him to bring in your storyline as well. And then he's going to talk about the kids that you're going to be doing trick-or-treating with. Yeah, I just made all this stuff up in my head. So it's things like that. And so once we get into that agreement and pitch, boom, it happens overnight. Management. Again, I'm going to jump over management a little bit, and I'm going to go to development, to develop your skills. When you look at it, you look at your artists or newscasters or actors or actresses and so forth. They're well developed. Why? Because they either spent time learning how to enhance their vocals, or they went to a acting class. I have a good friend named John Pallotta. He's famous for he did work with Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway. All of these things is on his thing, but he's a acting coach to help people to develop into their emotions, to bring it out so they can act better. So you need to be polished in those areas. You can have the most beautiful raw gift ever, but you have to develop whatever it is. Even with us as PR, we have to develop how to pitch our client and get them out there. Although while they're building or transforming into this beautiful flower that there is. And every day we learn more and more, and like, oh, I never knew that you liked that. Well, let me go after that too. And the sky is the limit with us. We are not putting you in a box, although sometimes the client places themselves in a box.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. I know you gotta go. Well, we're gonna wrap this up with the final question with Wanda and Pastor Bev. Pastor Bev, I'm gonna have you to answer that question. We're gonna go to the last question. But Yolanda, thank you so much for joining us. You provided some good information that our young people could use to apply as future PRs, marketers, and managers.
It warms my heart that you did this, because now the world can hear all of these things that I'm always telling people, whether I pick them up or I don't. And sometimes it's so hard to swallow, because sometimes you can have someone that's 4 or 5 years into this business, and I turn around and say to them, did you ever copyright your name? No, Miss Magda, was I supposed to do that? Hey, did you ever put your music with ASCAP and BMI and what is it, CCAP?
Oh no, Miss Mac, was I supposed to do that? Did you copyright this? Did you create a website? Have you did a mixtape? Where is your bio? How do I supposed to send this out? Matter of fact, have you ever had a photograph? Have you your photo shoot? Because I can't send out these little pictures that you're giving because they're pixelated. They don't look right. They're grungy. They're grimy. And I'm trying to give you a crystal commercial look and image. Or hey, you can't see this verbiage because we're on syndicated television and they could be taken incorrectly or wrong, or someone can say this. And then please don't get offended and learn the reason why I'm trying to protect not just you, but you have my business name attached to you. And so I have to protect my business as well as protecting you. These are the reasons. And so I'm so grateful to God to be able to share this now globally so that we can protect people and start the correct way instead of have to walk 7 miles and then go back and start all over again.
Thank
That's
you so much, Yolanda. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you all. God bless.
God bless you too, and thank you so much. Hold on for a second. Pastor Bell, the same question as let's talk about the business relationship between as a connection to between managers, marketers, and PRs in the media to promote clients. What would be your advice to a young person in this area of the entertainment business? 5 minutes, and then we're gonna go to the last question. We're gonna close it out.
Okay. Well, actually, I kind of that is once again, I'm just kind of repeating the importance. You talk about mentorship before, but also watching and observing. I think the key word, as has been all of us have used, is relationship. Even in the question that you ask, the answer really is about relationship, period. Because much like with what Wanda shared, when I use all of my experiences combined together, and quite frankly, there's folk can't afford all that stuff. So you, in order for you to survive, you need to be as close to a one-stop shop as you can be yourself. Also, in order to be competitive to the other folk that don't have all the gift. I mean, having started in radio, and I was also a member of AFTRA, American Federation of Television and Radio Announcers. So that allowed me to do commercials at a union scale rate. So I was in a position to get the buy, because I also understood radio sales. So I did radio sales. I would place the buy for the concert, engage the concert, do the contract for an artist for the concert. So I had 10, 15, and 20% coming from several avenues. And so, place the media, but so the relationship and then representing. So it was absolutely all about relationship, and however, everybody doesn't have that opportunity. Everybody is not positioned in that kind of way, such as what Wanda mentioned earlier. Everybody doesn't have knowledge in doing marketing and doing promotions and various types of promotions, even, and knowing how to barter, which is a lifesaver if you've got something to barter with. So there is there's that. But bottom line, young people, everybody involved really is, you observe, you watch, and as you cultivate and develop those, everybody in a day like today, this question coming in 2022 would have been probably a different response in 1985. But the answer today, yes, is Jesus Christ. But you have to create multiple streams. And the only way to really create multiple streams, you have to have multiple gifts. And so having those multiple gifts allows you to be appealing to people that need marketing promotions, because ultimately A marketing person is going to need to have a relationship with a person in promotions, is going to need to have conversation with a manager. So, and sometimes the marketing promotions person can't make a real decision until they've talked to the manager and the artist. So if you are one person that's handling at least 3 of those positions, all you need is one phone call to make sure that it's okay with the artist. And then you move forward as manager, as promotions, and as marketing. But if you were spreading this thing out and 3 and 4 people need to be contacted, I might have moved on waiting for you to reach all the people you need to reach before you can even get back to me. So it's about relationships and how those relationships work together so that you can get the results that you need. And so that's my thing in less than 5. Unmute yourself, brother.
Yeah, okay, I'm here. Thank you all so much. Yes, please, I'm asking everybody that's watching, please post your comments. If you're tuning in, this is the management and market discussion of the 2022 first annual Mentors of Performing Arts and Broadcasters Virtual Conference presented by Birdsong Association of Broadcasting and Arts, which yours truly is the founder, president, and executive director. We have people that's posting their comments. Thank you so much. We're gonna get to the last question. Then after that, then I'm gonna have our panelists to give their 2 minute closing remarks. Then I will come in and say something. So the last question for this discussion is: let us reflect on college. How important for our aspiring managers, marketers, and PRs to attend college following high school to advance their skills? Should they attend college to attain hands-on experience? 5 minutes each, and we're gonna start with Wanda and then Pastor Bell.
Well, I'm a as a parent, I'm a firm believer of education. I think that you should acquire as much education that it is. But however, I'm speaking from personal experience. Now, I have a daughter that went to Luther Rice. She's working on her PhD in religious studies, and that's good for her. But when I was called into the ministry, I'm just giving you an example of it. I said, "Oh, I need to go to theology school." And I know from her, she said, "Mama, half that stuff they have on the test, it ain't even in the Bible." But she said, "You got to answer the question the way they want you to answer to pass the course." So I prayed over it, and the Holy Spirit told me, "I will pour into you. I will speak into you. I will tell you what to go." So I didn't do that, and He uses me mightily. Now I'm not saying don't go to college; it's very important. Uh, I have 5 out of my 7 kids have. In fact, my oldest daughter just got her master's today. She took an online course. So I'm just saying, it's not a cookie cutter question. It's based on the individual. And like I said, all my kids, I have 2 that are trying to finish now that had to take off because of COVID. But as a mother, and I know as fathers, you said, okay, you get that education, especially in the state of Georgia, you can't get a decent paying job without having a degree. You'll be working in McDonald's. I mean, that's just how it is because they use it as a weapon, as a form of racism. But you have to have a college degree here. California, I was so disappointed. I have a college degree. I get out in the world and I'm going to get a job. Ain't nobody ever asked me to see my degree. They just want to know the experience that I had. So I'm not going to pertain this. Well, I got 1 more minute and I'm going to yield to my brother. But, we need to, and I'm not trying to sound churchy. I'm just saying, we need to pray over everything. I prayed over my kids when they went off to school and to college, and I had a saying. I told them, "I'm not sending you to school, stupid, so don't come home, stupid." And I yield the floor back to you.
Thank you so much, Wanda. Pastor Bell, same question. Let us
Listen,
reflect on college.
listen, I enjoy listening to Wanda so much, but and I echo that. It's very interesting, very timely question. I'm literally in school right now as we speak. I'm 3 classes away from my second master's, and this master's is ironically in business management. And but when all that stuff that I did before, as a matter of fact, in the 80s, I came out of school to be more involved in gospel radio, gospel music, because this is before being able to do it online. You had to be there. So, I couldn't call in sick from the Gospel Music Workshop of America. And I couldn't call in sick because I was in Texas with the Hawkins family and in Chicago with the Smallwood Singers. So it just became literally impossible. But I really got, on the job training, on the road training, being involved training, and all of that beat everything that's ever been taught in college concerning that. Not discounting getting your college education. But I have to tell you, but the more I got involved in ministry, that sent me to seminary. And so, I can tell you all about Paul and Moses and the Davidic order and the this and the that and all that kind of sort of stuff. But I found out in my later years that sent me back to school, which is when I ended up finishing in business administration. And now, as I said, I'm three classes away from my master's in business after having a master's in divinity. What I also learned, folk, is that, while you can do all the Paulinic travels and the Mosaic order and all of that, I found out that, preachers and pastors and ministers and ministries and head of ministers, we needed to know business official technical terms, because right now to even get a good loan or financing or support from a good bank, they want to see an Excel sheet or other things that are foreign to us. And even when you know it, we know how to balance a checkbook, but do we know how to do it the official commercialized way? And so so I went back, not just for that, but because I'm also a good government contractor too. And my good college education is helping me to move up in how much they pay me, you see. And it is also because of that, I'm okay. I'm all right. So I'm not sitting around waiting for what the offering is. So that allows me to be able to help people that I know can't really even afford me. So we've created other avenues and other means, and education is absolutely important. Education also helps our young people to not just learn whatever the subject matter is, but the educational process helps the young people to learn structure and order and being responsible and turning in a paper on time. And it does a lot more than just the degree of saying you went to school, because a lot of people you would think they've been to school, but they haven't at all. But they still educated themselves in some kind of way. So it depends on where it is you want to go. Because college is also not for everybody. And I told my kids, I don't need you wasting my money. If you don't really want to go, you got to do something, but you're not getting ready to waste this money here. So it's, find out what works for you, young people. Find out what works for you.
Thank you all. Thank you so much, everybody. I just want you all to know that this is so important with college. Like with me, I have a Bachelor of Arts in Biblical Education from Beulah Heights University here in Atlanta, Georgia. And Wanda, you know about Beulah Heights University.
I do.
And then I have a certificate of marketing from the University of Phoenix on the graduate level. And then I'm 3 classes away getting my master's in leadership from Grand Canyon University. Yes, and then I had 2 honorary doctor degrees, one honorary doctor in Scarce Music and an honorary doctor in Scarce Letters. So tonight we are at the closing of this discussion, managing and marketing discussion for the 2022 first annual Mentors of Performing Arts and Broadcasters virtual conference. And I appreciate everybody for watching tonight and posting their comments. This information will help our youth in the Black community to learn and be the next generation of in management and marketing. So at this time, I'm going to allow our panelists to give their 2-minute final closing words, and then I will come back and we'll start with you, Wanda, 2 minutes, followed by Pastor Bell.
Well, I think that this has been an awesome platform. I hope the listeners and the students receive something out of it. I am asking God to continue to protect them, lead them, and guide them, and place a hedge of protection around them. And I want to say this again, I ain't churchy, but I want you to know you cannot do anything without Christ. Come on and help me, Pastor. You can't do nothing.
Nothing.
And so those are my closing remarks. Focus, study, and more importantly, trust God. If he say don't do it, don't do it. I don't care what nobody else is doing. If he say this is not for you, don't do it. Because everything is not for everybody. I wouldn't have even guessed that I would be doing what I do now. You know what? I was prophesied to many, many years ago by Bishop Bloomer when I was doing other things, my magazine. He said, "You're doing great here." He said, "But I hold on to it. Don't get attached because God is moving you." Before I knew it, I was going places and people knew me for the magazine and they said, "Wanda, you should manage us. You should market us. You should do this." I'm like, "I don't know nothing about that. My degree is in accounting." But God moved and he poured into me. And I yield the floor back to you.
Pastor L, your closing remarks. Thank you so much.
Listen, that's just amazing. I felt like I closed already, but I'll close again. But I tell you, again, of course, I echo that. And, you know, the scripture says, Ezekiel 36 says, and even the heathen shall know that I am the Lord. You know, and so even when we look at hip hop shows and half naked folk in lingerie accepting awards for their music, even they have enough sense to thank God.
All right now.
Okay, so it's amazing. You absolutely can't do it. It don't work without God. I don't care what it is. God is involved. You can't even have a storm without God. Every element in the storm belongs to God. And so God is everywhere. He's everything and all of that. So young people, you know, it's real stuff. And I know we've been young too. One said, I once was young, but now I'm not as young. But I've never seen the righteous forsaken.
Oh,
So it's like, listen, but it's true. The words that were said, young people, get with God, stay with God. You know, the Holy Spirit of God won't lead you wrong. He'll guide you into all truth. And so that's real. That's real in your career, in your education, in your community life, in your career life. So that's real, and that's just what it is. And it's not so much about churchy. It's just what it is. You know, as they say, it is what it is, and God is. So that's what we say, and that's what we believe, and that's how we move, man. So it's been a great journey, and even for me. I know that Sister Wanda agrees. Yolanda, you know, even at a particular age, it's just a blessing to still be in the mix, and it's a blessing to still get called upon and still be relevant, and you know, still, you know, I appreciate you for including me in on this, you know, and prayers up to my sister Bellamy, Sister Benita. And all of that, and everybody, man, and you and what you're doing. This is what it takes, you know. And I'm grateful that this thing can be replayed, and those that are watching now, and then those that can watch later. You know, the information won't change. You know, it's like running a track. The track don't change. So we're grateful just to be here again. Thank you, and blessings and peace to all of the ministries and the families and individuals and businesses that are watching, and young people that have become a part of this. So we give God praise for you, sir. And that's it.
Thank you all so much. Again, on behalf of the administration and board members of Birdsong Association of Broadcasting Arts, BABA, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Wanda Adams, Pastor Jerome Bell, and Yolanda McIntosh for joining us tonight for the management and marketing discussion. It was announced earlier, Benita Bellaby Keller was unable to join us this evening. And our moderator Deborah Bryant was unable to moderate, so I had to moderate this discussion. So please join us. We have 4 discussions on tomorrow for this conference. I'm asking everybody to please post your comments. Tomorrow we will have 4 discussions from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will have the producers discussion. And then 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, record labels and distribution. Then from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, radio broadcasting. And then from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, television broadcasting. Please join to learn more about Birdsong Association of Broadcasting and Arts. Please visit our website at www.babaonline.org. And again, that's www.babaonline.org. So please join us tomorrow right here at the 4th discussion that was announced. And then next Thursday, which is October 20th, we will have academics and award shows discussions. Then Friday, October 21st, musicians. Then October 22nd, the final day of the conference, it will be me and the administration and board members of this organization as we do a 1 hour recap. And you can also go on our organization website and go to Mentors Conference and view the conference schedule and more information. Again, we would like to thank all of you for tuning in on tonight. And what our motto, what our organization prepares today's youth as voices in arts broadcasting. God bless you all. And on behalf of the administration and board members of Birdsong Association of Broadcasting and Arts, thank you so much. God bless you until we meet again. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.